Hey, let's pick up your journey into becoming a consultant because I really like the retirement zone, your education. Congratulations on almost completing pretty soon this year. That's a big deal, completing a PhD. Congratulations on that. But let's continue the conversation with your progress through your life because, as you know, people listen to this program, they like to get tips, and you're obviously in the retirement zone. So, what happened past the strength and conditioning and to move you forward into this consulting thing? Are there any tips? What do you do when you go to these events? All these kind of stuff. Go ahead.
Well, basically, I got to the stage where I was traveling a lot with my coaching and really wanted to have a change from that. I've been doing it for years and years and wanted to have a bit more flexibility, spend more time with my family, but still really make an impact in the world of sports. And so um, I'd moved into some leadership roles in sports, so kind of head of department, performance director, advisor, and so I thought, you know what, it's time to step out and work for myself and work as a consultant into back into some professional teams, some national teams, and so on. So that's exactly what I'm doing now. So I get invited by professional teams to go in and look at their strength and conditioning, their physiotherapy, their medical services, their nutrition, their psychology services, all the sports science and medical services that surround the athletes, and basically do a bit of an audit and go, well, what can we do better here? Do we need to hire more people? Do we need to hire better people? Do we need better systems and processes? Do we need better physical testing protocols, or do we need better facilities? What do we need to get this team from here to winning more? And that's part of the formula and the equation. There's other parts. You might need a better head coach, you might need some more funding or whatever, but a big part of it is this sports science and medical backroom staff, the sports science and medical services that support this pro team. How can we make that better? How can we make them integrate better, communicate better, gel together better, and get these athletes from where they are now to being world class or to winning more games and so on? So that's what I spend my time doing, going into pro teams and pro settings and advising them on how they get from where they are to where they need to be.
Pete, talk about the progress that you've seen, the historical progress from where we were when you started to where you are now, coming in as a consultant, talking about all the things you just mentioned, and I just wrote down a couple of them, the physiotherapy, the psychology, all of these aspects that go into these athletes now. And because we have grandchildren and they're both performers and they're both athletes, and it's like we see it, with these youth, and I see it at the campus. But talk about the progress, the things that you've seen change from when you started and you first finished college to now with our youth.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big things is, and just to be aware, the UK has been historically a bit further behind than the US when it comes around to coaching, because you guys have big college programs and so on, which we don't have so much. So we've been a little bit behind. But one of the things I've seen is an increase in the number of support services like the psychologists, the physiotherapists, the nutritionists, and strength and conditioning coaches. That side has grown, because in the past when I started, there was like the head coach, the assistant coach, and then maybe a fitness coach, and that was it. Now there's a huge team of people around these guys, so that team is growing and growing and growing. So there's more and more information and knowledge. There's more and more guidance and direction for up and coming young athletes on what they can do to get better. The other thing is that the research has got better over time. There's more and more research into sports science, like what are the cutting edge methods for really getting the most out of yourself. And that's good, but it's also a bit of a double-edged sword, because sometimes people go chasing those new methods, those shiny objects, and they forget getting the fundamentals in place. So I'm very much about first build the fundamentals, build that base, get the building blocks in place, and then go after the latest research, the latest bit of tech, the latest whatever, which might give you that 1 or 2%. But there's no good chasing the 1 and 2 percenters when you haven't got your 80% in place. So I'm very big on getting the fundamentals absolutely locked in. before you go chasing all these fancy things. But that's how things have changed over time. You know, there's more and more tech out there. There's more and more ways of training and more ways of skinning a cat than there was before. So we just know more about the human body, which is fantastic.
We're going to talk about fundamentals and foundation. As we're growing older, the rules of thumb. Okay, let's just start right at the top of Pete's list. The rules of thumb, as we're growing older, because we all are, or we're not alive, you need to pay attention here. So, Pete, I'm just going to I'm going to unwind you and let you go with this because you're talking to a client, whatever, you want to give some advice to people. You just said in the previous segment, the key thing, the key is the fundamentals. And I like to say the foundation. You got to have a strong foundation to your body and what you're doing before you get all the shiny objects, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, this wasn't even an issue for me when I was younger. I didn't even think about growing old, and I'm by no means old. I turned 47 this year. But basically what happened was in my sort of early to mid 40s, I started getting injuries and struggling, and my body was breaking down, and it was basically caused by too much stress and lack of sleep. I wasn't looking after myself. I was in a really stressful job and I wasn't sleeping enough. And so, of course, that led to injuries and lack of progress. And I thought, finally, old age has caught up with me. But actually, I then changed my situation and got to a place where I was sleeping more. I managed to remove some of the stress from my life. And I then got back in a good stream of work and got back to seeing some good progress. So old age is inevitable. We're not always going to keep improving, but we can keep progressing. And so some of the fundamentals that I like to talk about is that you need to be regular in your exercise. You need to be exercising regularly. And regularity is a little bit different from consistency. You need to be consistent and you need to be regular. So regularity is more to do with like you're doing this on a daily basis or you're doing this 3 times a week. You need to have some regularity, some routine to what you do. Consistency is more around you don't want to go and absolutely, go hell for leather one session and then um, go, pick up the pieces for the next week because you killed yourself and pushed yourself into a hole. You need to be a little bit more consistent. That doesn't mean you can't vary your intensity. Some days are hard, some days are easy, but you just need consistency and regularity. Then you need to be doing something that's viable. So don't join a gym that's like an hour drive away because you're never going to go. It's not viable. Make it easy for yourself. So if that means exercising at home, then you exercise at home. If that means driving 20 minutes to a gym, drive 20 minutes to a gym, but do something that is viable. Don't commit to something that you're not going to stick at because it's just not viable. So you need to have something that's viable. Then you need to do something that's fun and interesting, okay? Like there's lots of different ways of exercising. If you don't enjoy going to a gym, there's other ways of getting strong, there's other ways of getting fit. You can join a community club, you can go and join all sorts of various sports teams, you can join or anything, there's so much choice out there. So make sure it's interesting, it's fun, and that you enjoy it. I'm not saying that some days that everything you have to do is fun. Like sometimes I push myself so hard I think this is not fun, or other days, I really have to motivate myself. But I'm just saying in general, choose something that you like in general and do that. Another quick thing is that if you're injured or if you have like issues, some back pain or some joint issues, whatever the injury or whatever might be, you can always do something. If you break your right leg, you can exercise your left leg. You can exercise your upper body. You can exercise your cardiovascular system in different ways. There's always something you can do, I believe. So even when I've had injuries, I've had to change and manipulate and give my training a bit of an uplift, but I've always been able to train. So you can always do something. There's no excuse for not doing anything. Then I would say make sure you recover well, so you're sleeping well, eating well, and that you're recovering. Otherwise, you'll just push yourself in a hole. And on the eating side, you need to make sure that you're eating well and healthily, not fast food all the time and not overeating. So overeating is a big issue. People struggle with not being able to get shift body fat, and it's because they're overeating. So temper your eating, both in volume and content, and that will help your recovery, and that will help your body composition. That will help you store muscle mass and lose body fat.
Okay. Pete,
So
how would you like people to connect with you across the world? You're in England, but I mean, you go to conferences. That's how you met Lucas Ring at the conference in Austin. Please share all your contact info.
yeah, so if you want to get hold of me for any speaking engagements or anything you'd like to discuss, probably social media is probably the best way to reach out. So on Instagram, my handle is at Pete J McKnight, and McKnight is McKnight. So Pete J McKnight. Or on X, formerly Twitter, I am at Pete McKnight. So there's no J in there, just Pete McKnight. Um, Also, if you want to follow any of my work, I have a podcast on the Inform Performance platform. So if you just Google Inform Performance, their website will come up. And I run a sports leadership podcast on there. And I also have a course for sports performance leaders. So leaders in sport, whether you're a head coach, whether you're a strength and conditioning coach, a physical therapist, if you have some leadership role in elite level sports, I have a course which helps train leaders and equip you. So that's all on the Inform Performance platform. So you can find me on there.
But exercises you would recommend. Now you're at this point in your life. What are you doing personally, and then what would you recommend? What are you doing with yourself?
Well, so exercise, in terms of exercises, let's say in the gym, I like to do exercises that get me big bang for my buck. What I mean by that is I don't want to work a small muscle group. Say, for example, I don't go over the top on things like bicep curls or tricep push downs, because that's like kind of body sculpting that you spend a lot of time doing for just one muscle group. I prefer to work exercises that are called compound exercises, which work multiple muscle groups in one exercise, like a squat, a deadlift, a bench press, a weighted pull up. So you've got weights hanging around your waist and you're pulling up, because what you're doing there is you're working multiple muscle groups in one go. So you're actually training your whole body, or a number of muscle groups. You're burning more calories, so there's a higher metabolic demand. And you're not just kind of sculpting one tiny muscle that nobody really cares about. If you want to throw in your bicep curls at the end and your other stuff, that's your extra work, but the fundamentals are get exercises that give you big bang for your buck. So that's one thing. Another thing is I like to work balance. So like if I'm going to do a double leg exercise like a squat or a deadlift, I like to do a single leg exercise as well, like a single leg squat or a lunge, because then I'm working my legs independently. So it's not just bilateral work, it's unilateral work as well, because then that makes sure I'm balanced left to right. I like to balance my pushing and my pulling. So you get some people that just want to get a massive chest. You need to balance your pushing with your pulling. So if you're doing lots of bench press, you need to do some seated row or pull-ups or something where you're pulling, so that you don't get rounded shoulders, you don't get bad posture, you're getting some balance. Then I like movement exercises where you have like rotation, you have flexion, extension, you have some hinging, so that your body can move well. Because like I said earlier, when you're old, you want to be able to bend over and tie your shoelaces. You want to be able to climb up onto a chair and get something out of the top cupboard without falling over and having an accident. So this is about being mobile, about being functionally fit. So some movement in there that allows you to move in all planes and all directions and dimensions. So that's one thing. Then I really like to have a mixture of, like I said before, strength and then cardiovascular stuff. So I use the Concept 2 for rowing. I use the Watt bike for cycling. I go running because I like to run. And then I do strength work, so lifting weights in the gym. But I also want to do some fun stuff. So I like to play sport. So I play some touch rugby. I occasionally play tackle rugby, but I seem to always get injured whenever I smash people. So maybe that's a clue to myself to stop smashing people and maybe go back to touch or tag instead of full contact. But I like to play sport as well. I like table tennis, I like volleyball, I like sports because they're fun, but I also like training because I just enjoy it. So hopefully that's helpful.
There is no silver bullet. Did I say that in a nice radio voice? There is no silver bullet. There is no silver bullet. There is no silver bullet. But there are ways to get to the silver bullet results. All right. And one of them are nutrition hacks. All right. I've talked a lot about protein and how much protein you need. There's a lot of talk out there. There's a lot of mis and disinformation. Does it make you crazy with some of this, with some of the eats and the food and some of the all of these experts out there, Pete, with the nutrition? Does it make you a little nuts with this stuff when it could be so damn simple?
Yeah, I mean, nutrition is one area that is an absolute minefield. Like everybody disagrees, everybody thinks they know, and unfortunately, you're not going to like this, but the best thing, the most fundamental thing in nutrition is to get a healthy balance of protein, carbohydrates, and fats, and also to eat plenty of vegetables and meat and carbohydrates. And it's that simple, having a balanced diet. But like I said earlier, one of the other really important things is not overeating. That's something people don't really talk about that much. They tend to talk about what type of food you shouldn't eat. But I would say even if you're eating healthy food, just don't overeat. You know, you're getting too many calories here. So I would say overeating is one of the things. But I really like, I know it's a principle of life, but the 80/20 rule works pretty well with nutrition. Like you don't want to, if you eat healthy all the time and you really struggle with it, your life is going to be pretty miserable. So allow yourself to have fast food from time to time. Allow yourself to, enjoy Thanksgiving and Christmas and festivals where you just eat and stuff your face. Enjoy, allow yourself to have a dessert or cookies or whatever you want from time to time, but don't let that become the 80%. Your 80% should be the healthy eating. Your 10 to 20% should be allowing yourself to have some treats. In terms of supplements, there's a lot of supplements out there on the market. Most of them don't work. The ones that do work are mostly illegal for athletes to take. But there are some that work. And one of them is creatine monohydrate. Now, creatine is good for two different things. One thing is building muscle mass and strength, and people take it for that in the gym. But another use of creatine is actually for cognitive function and brain health. So now, like older people and Alzheimer's patients and people with brain injuries from playing rugby or NHL or NFL sports where people smash each other, people are taking creatine to protect their brains against traumatic brain injuries, or a lot of people in the workplace are taking creatine for their cognitive function and so on. So I would say take creatine. There's no real downside. 5 grams a day. And that's all you need, and that will help you on the muscular side and on the cognitive side. So for me, that's it's a no-brainer.
What would be your takeaway for your first? Thank you again for being a guest today. It was fun and very, very, very informative. What would you like a quick takeaway to be?
I would say like just get that balance of really good strength work and really good cardiovascular work. I've said it a few times, but it's just a real key takeaway. Make sure you're balanced in what you do.
Having a guest like a Pete McKnight, again, thanks to Lucas Ring for making the suggestion. Unbelievable guy. Unbelievable. His tips, regular, consistent, viable, fun, interesting, recovery, food. And then I like to throw in the social aspects. This guy's going to be back for sure. For sure. Thank you again to Pete McKnight for being with us. Look at all his work. Guy's busy as heck. I'm so thrilled that he was with us. And again, thank you to Lucas for connecting us, because that's what it takes. You got to have balance in your life, everybody. If you do not have balance, you're unbalanced. This has been the Tom Matt Show. Thank you so much. I'm Papa Tom. Peace out, everybody. Love y'all. Have a great day.